Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. I'm Tony King, I'm a photographer, and let's talk about some video effects that you can create through your photography. Recently I put out a video, like a fake kit reveal for this shirt actually, which is a Venezia training shirt. I got some good feedback from people who watched it, friends and family, and I realized that I used some cool, I think they're cool, photography effects that maybe not everybody knows how to achieve. So I wanted to make this video breaking down mostly the photography side of this, but I'll also go through how I edited this video. Without further ado, I'll play it real quick. So it's a really quick video, just about 20 seconds long, and I just kind of did it for fun, but I used a few different effects with photography that I just wanted to break down. The first thing to break down is to actually organize the pictures I'm doing. First, I want to go through the broccoli effect, or I've heard it called the broccoli effect. I know it comes from like a Lil Yachty video. I think that's called broccoli, I don't know, but there's this old niche camera. I think it's like the Nishika N8000 or something that has 4 lenses on it, and when you combine those pictures, it makes this pretty cool effect. They don't have a digital version of that, which I think is ridiculous because I think it's such a cool effect. I've always been fascinated by it. So I've done so manually by just moving around. For example, how to break down some of this stuff. I was having a hero shot using the broccoli effect. Hero shot, just, kind of upper body with cool lighting of my model, which is my wife. I'll go ahead and show color graded images here. There's 4 of them. So as you can see, as I scroll through them, they're pretty much all the same. And you can already almost see that broccoli effect create itself. This is just me asking her to stand very still, and I'm moving with the camera, a few inches, snap, 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 snap. So what I did then is I go into After Effects. You can probably achieve this in Photoshop or something else, but I started as an editor in After Effects, so it's like my go-to. I kind of use After Effects as Photoshop for video. So here I have my composition called Hero Lapse, and I'll just go ahead and play it. And you can see that it's pretty smooth. Obviously the background is moving, but it almost looks like my wife isn't moving. She was very still for this, so she didn't move. This is probably a little bit more of a shift than the actual Nishika N8000 camera would achieve. And you saw that I had 4 images before. I ended up only using 3. I do think this effect works best with sequences of 3 to 4 images. And what you see here is that I have first image, second image, third image, second image again, that goes back into the first image, because you want to go back and forth one at a time. And my composition is 23.976 frames per second, 12 frames. So each image itself is only there for 3 full frames. When I first started editing, 4 frames was a pretty good standard for these sort of effects. And it depends on your frame rate, but going based off 24 or 23.976 frames per second, I've seen and noticed with myself and with other creators how much faster media has gotten in terms of social media and things like this. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a difference, but to go down from 4 to 3 as a kind of a standard for number of frames for an effect like this just highlights that change in the way that we consume our media and create our media as well. So it's not as simple as just lining them in. As you can see, if you look around here, you can see that the position is slightly different for each image because I was trying to stabilize her location in the frame. And an easy way, simple, straightforward way to do this, there might be other ways to do it, but the way I've always done it is manually. What I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and line up these images. This one is the same as this one, so it doesn't really matter. And what I do is go ahead and select them all, change their opacity to like 65. Sometimes I'll just to make it easier, I'll do 45. And as you can see, I'm trying to line up the center of her face up. I didn't quite do it perfectly here, actually. Maybe I'm seeing that I could even improve what I did here. Yeah, I could just line up the glasses there even better if I wanted to. And I'm just, dragging it into place. Now I can set that opacity back to 100. And I'm looking here, I'm making sure that all the edges are in the frame, and they are. If they're not, what you want to do is scale up all the images together. You can do that by creating a null object. And since I changed stuff, I'll go ahead and delete this and reduplicate it. drag it all the way over, and boom, there we go. And when I play it, see how smooth that is? That is honestly smoother than what I had before, what I used in the actual video. So I guess I was a little lazy at one point, and it's very, very easy to create this. And I really like this shot because it is a hero shot with the light in the background, and you still get, you know, most of the shirt, but I didn't want to give away too much of the shirt in this shot because I have other shots for that. Back to my organization, I did the same thing for the other broccoli effects that I did, but this one didn't actually turn out the same way, because what I did was using a mirror shot. It's sort of the same thing, and I did line this one up properly the first time like I did, but I created a few different iterations because I took a lot of takes going across the mirror. But as you can see, this one is longer because I used all the images pretty much, I think, that I took in this sequence, which is a lot more than 3 or 4. So what you get is kind of this longer back and forth than you do with the regular broccoli effect. There's a few different crops. Here I didn't line her up, and this is what you're getting. So these are basically the images I got. I'm trying to keep it as steady going side to side. With only 4 images, I think this is the best effect, honestly. There's really only 3, but one is repeated to create the effect. So then what you do is you just export this, and it's a seamless loop, so you can just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and it's going to seamlessly move back and forth in a continuation. Lastly, I had a quick shot of cleats, and what I did here was try to align the Nike sign on these soccer cleats. And as you can see, again, 3 images, 1 repeated, so it's basically 4 stills back and forth to create this effect. I like how the exposure sort of changes between the first frame and the last 3 or last 2, and it kind of creates almost like a film like flicker effect in there. And I think that's one advantage that you can get from doing this manually versus doing it on the Nishika N8000. There's plenty of advantages to that. The obvious one, you are capturing literally the same frame in time, which greatly adds to the continuity of your shots, or you can more easily and effectively use like a flash, which I think is also very cool for this effect, especially if you have like things floating in the air or something. In the shadow, it looks like things are floating, almost like a 3D image, which I think is a very cool effect. That would be a lot harder to capture the method that I'm using with just a camera, and apparently my next career is a Foley artist. So another effect that I wanted to do is a hyperlapse, and I would call this a hyperlapse. Basically, a hyperlapse is a moving time lapse. What is a time lapse? It's the shot of one thing over an extended period of time. So like the sun coming up, sun going down, or open square with like a crowd coming in, a crowd coming out. A hyperlapse is basically that same thing, but moving. I've done a few of these while traveling. What you do is you find like a monument and you take a picture, take a step back, take a picture, take a step back, take a picture, take a step back, over and over and over again, lining it up within the grid line of your camera, close enough, and then you put it together as a GIF or a video on the computer. What I did here was basically the same thing with the Venezia shirt, and this would be the like last shot of the video where you can really see the full on image. A soccer ball, obviously pointing out that it's a soccer jersey, and nothing much else. Pretty plain background, no face to distract from the actual jersey. This is a jersey kit reveal, and this is pretty self-explanatory. To make it simpler, I was on a monopod. I think a monopod is a great tool for this sort of thing for a photographer. You know, maintain that height. If you keep changing heights, you're going to change the perspective of what you are taking a photo of, and it's going to kind of warp all the lines. This jersey is very useful because the Venezia in the middle, the text, is what you want to align it with. And as you can see, I've lined it up just like I did with the broccoli effect to the center. Same method, by just lowering the opacity and kind of shifting some of the images, and there you have the effect. No need to, you know, go back and forth on this or repeat any frames. And again, there are 3 frames for each image. It's almost like a smooth video, but it's clearly not. And I think it turned out pretty well. Maybe I could have made it a little bit smoother in terms of going actually back in a straight line. I think I ended up running into my dining table and had to kind of shift at one point, so kind of screwed it up there, but still pretty satisfied with how this turned turned out. Like I mentioned, if you are not using a monopod, you're gonna end up probably changing the height of the images, and that can create some weird effects. I actually did this on purpose for this video to kind of create a jitter lapse. What a jitter lapse is a picture of a common object in different locations, or something like how I did with this logo. Here is my logo jitter lapse. What I wanted to achieve with this is almost make it feel like the jersey itself was a flag blowing in the wind, and we're just focused on the logo. And all I did for this effect was take a picture of the logo, move, kind of 360 like dome around the logo. So as you can see, anytime I click through, it's kind of at a different angle, especially some of these, like these are opposites over here, and try to angle it all in the middle. Almost every image, there's a few different sizes, but as you can see, the logo's in the middle, so it's our common object, and you can see the ruffles of the shirt. It actually might have been better if I changed the ruffles a little bit. I would have maybe achieved the blowing in the wind effect a little bit more, but this is a jitter lapse. Very simple, easy effect to create, and then line it up in After Effects, Photoshop, whatever you want. I did this again with the sleeve logo, as you can see, with the Nocta Venezia FC. I really like the Lion of Venice for this logo, so I wanted to highlight that. And there's a few more effects that I did for this video, and this one I did in a 2:1 aspect ratio, and I did this twice. It is a Venezia kind of rundown. This jersey gave me the opportunity to spell out the name of the team with this effect, just taking a picture of each individual letter and lining them up. And I did zoom in, lower the opacity, and line up the letters together in the center of the frame. Similarly, I did this again while my wife was wearing the shirt. The first time she wasn't. More like cinematic vibe, and it's a different framing as well. But as you can see in each frame, the letter that I'm focused on is in the center of the frame. So what I'm getting at is you want to find consistency in these effects, whether it's in the center of the frame, on one side of the frame. Give the audience something that their eye can focus on, and maybe the background changes or something else, because when you're moving so fast, you don't have time to divert the eye, divert the attention, or lead the eye somewhere else. But we'll get back to that when I actually show you how I edited the video, because some of that comes into play later on. But for these specific effects, to achieve them, you need consistency. Maybe that takes a little bit of editing in post to really get everything lined up. Just take your time with it. Clearly, earlier, I should have taken more time with it. One effect that I had achieved better was the kind of ball time lapse sort of effect. I'll go ahead and play it. And what I did here, what I messed up, is I didn't use a monopod to kind of keep the frame the exact same every time. But what I did was hold my camera there and take a picture, have my wife rotate the ball in her hand, and over and over and over again. And here you'll see that I keyframed position and scale to go ahead and kind of zoom in from 100 to 108 and try to center the ball. Why I had to do that was to try to get the actual shot a little bit smoother. This is it without any movement. And you can see the frame really change at a few different points, which I did not really like as much. I think it's less distracting when you look at it with the kind of zoom in. And in the end, I didn't use the entire duration of this shot, so it didn't quite matter because I got to choose, the strongest point of it. In general, this is an example of why the monopod is super important for these sort of things. The last thing I want to talk about how I achieved in terms of an effect is actually how I start out the video, and honestly to me one of the strongest points of the video, which is the opening, the long exposure sequence that I created with a bunch of long exposure shots. So how do you capture a long exposure shot? You might not know, you may know. Well, I went ahead and closed my aperture as low as it could go on the camera and lowered my ISO to 200. What that will create is once you press the shutter, it's going to take a little bit of time and then it will capture the image. So if you keep it fully still, this is how you can capture a really cool nighttime shot, and it looks a lot brighter than it does to the human eye because in that time light is being captured by the sensor to create that image. But you might know if you've tried that it's kind of hard to get one of those shots without a tripod, because if there's any little movement, it's going to come out super blurry. Well, a trend that's come up in I don't know how recently I should say that it's been a trend, but these kind of moving long exposure shots with intentional motion. So as you can see here, if we're looking at the jersey I'm wearing, this is a logo, but then the Venezia is all the way over here. So how did that happen? I take the picture I hear the shutter start going, and then I move at the very end. Take the picture, move at the very end, down. Or what you can do alternatively is start on something, and right when you take the picture, move and try to line it up to where the logo is going to be, or wherever the actual subject you want in more focus to be. It's not easy, and let me tell you, I took like 100,000 of these shots just to get the handful that I ended up using. What was my setup to get the colors? Well, this was actually broad daylight, but I ended up going in my closet with my wife, and we had a little party light that we had left over from our wedding, like $10 party light off of Amazon. So it kept going, red lights, blue lights, green lights, purple, all in a flow. And I thought it worked really well. And I just took 100,000, not 100,000, but hundreds of pictures starting on the logo. Boom, down. Starting on the logo, boom, down. Starting on her face, boom, down the logo. Now, as I play it, it kind of looks like the logo goes from the center to the side, back to the center, to the side, back to the center, also because it's looping. But what I wanted to do with that is highlight some motion I thought was really cool. With the actual design of the shirt, there's a lot of leading lines, so I wanted to take advantage of that. It's a sporty shirt as well, so get that kind of motion running in. Venice is on water, running water, all these sort of themes. Primarily, the logo's on over your heart. Sort of, well, I guess the heart's actually in here according to some people, but you hold your hand to your heart and you hold it up here. The logos are typically up here, so I kind of wanted to create that sort of effect with this. So as you can see, the first 2 or 3 shots, really just 2, the logo's perfectly in the middle, almost in the same exact spot. You can see the light changes to green to red, green, red, and I lined those up in post. As you can see, looking at the sides of the image, these are completely different. And then we have one where you can barely see the logo. It's kind of a transition shot. Bam, we're at the top. So when you play this, it just kind of goes there. And it works because here the logo is red, and here the center spot of this image is also red. Now I'm lining up a bunch of shots in the top right corner, and it's starting to move. And we kind of have a slight move here. This kind of shot that has the logo kind of double, not a lot of motion. And the last 2 where it's centered, not perfect, but the dirtiness kind of works for this effect. And putting those together, it creates this loop, which is really nice in my opinion. Hopefully that is an explanation that if you wanted to achieve this effect, now you can do it. Let me know in the comments if you have questions. I'll either answer or create another video. This is a 3-part effect in the actual video because I had different subjects. Then I had the Venezia part of the logo, and this is how that turned out. I kind of created it centered, and you can see that it goes up and down, and that kind of just worked out with the images that I had taken, trying to center that Venezia there. Can't see it, can't see it, can't see it. Can sort of see it, can see it, can, it's going away, back to where it's away. And this is kind of the idea. If you want to create a loop, you want to go in and out, like we did with the broccoli effect. You have the first image, second image, third image, second image, so that you can get back to the beginning. This is the basic idea for creating these loops. It's pretty obvious, but you kind of have to plan for it while you're editing, because if you don't do this in this sort of way, you're not going to be able to loop it later if you want this shot to be looped in your actual edit. So that kind of creates this motion, which I think is really nice. And it looks like, the shirt Venezia is coming up. It's a tease to what we see later with the actual shot of the entire jersey, but also of the letters of the jersey. It's all a tease until we get that last hero shot, but we want to add a little bit more, give a little bit more, take a little bit less, I guess. But of course, since I took 100,000 shots, obviously, I mean that literally, not all the shots ended up fitting into either of those 2. As you can see, here's my wife twice in a row. You can also see her up here as I'm going into the images. I didn't want to just throw these away. And here's this loop. It's not really that perfect. It's not perfect at all. It's not a loop. It only loops because I'm playing it back and forth. It's kind of a mess, but I wanted to use these together to put together the last 2 long exposure loops that I showed, and I think it works well in the video. So what I did then was export all of those things and bring them into Premiere Pro to combine them together to create my edit. And if you see, everything is sort of color coded. The forest green or darker green here, these are all the photo effects that I used in this video. And then Orange is high quality video, and purple is digicam footage, which I thought would be a cool vibe. If you want to know the digicam I used, I have a video on that. Check it out. So I'll go ahead and play it one more time, and maybe I can talk about a couple of the reasons why I edited this way. I'm not a sound designer, so maybe let's not fully comment on that, but I think I did okay. I'm sure a real sound designer would have done a lot better. As we know, and as I talked about, I started off with the long exposure shots. Started off with that logo to really introduce the Venezia, using the random kind of shots here to transition into kind of the longer effect of the shirt here. And that plays out like this. It actually plays out really smoothly because all these images here kind of take us from one part into the next part with the Venezia and transitioning from my wife's face to that part of the shirt. And I only played each one once, so I didn't even end up looping it. I didn't want to dwell on anything too much. And I went right into a broccoli effect, changing the aspect ratio. You can see the shirt, the light, everything, which is nice. The shirt is not buttoned up now, which is important because I show that later. And I ended up playing this effect twice, because if you don't really see the effect. Going into probably the weakest shot of the entire thing, just a little detail of the bottom of the shirt. Another detail real quick, I added a sound effect for every frame change, and this shot I thought was going to be, the shot that gets us into it, her quickly grabbing the shirt. Then we go into the sequence of her looking down, buttoning the shirt finally, sleeve jitter again, getting an effect, another detail in. We've seen that it's now a button-up shirt. Highlighted the model, detail of the logo, detail of the sides of the shirt. Now we get back into some effects. And I wanted to pair these up with the logo jitter effect, which takes us back to the shot we just saw, wiping the shirt. I didn't want to put them back to back because I thought the hand motion here and this one flowed really well together. But I thought putting this detail hyperlapse, let's call it, next to the other photo effect worked pretty smoothly in transition. Cutting back to a video of the same detail, opposite direction, but slow motion, it's smooth. We cut back into a digital shot of the shirt. So I'm really going back and forth between my photo effects, my 4K shots on a regular video, to my digicam shots. I'm breaking the 180-degree rule here, but it doesn't really matter for this. Because this is a digicam, I think it works to go down, showing all the letters here, and I'm showing them again. By now, you understand when watching this video, Venezia. Now we're going into some kind of more cool shots. She's got the shirt on. She doesn't have a button here. Oops. And I play this like 1.5 times this mirror lapse, which I think is the best one I pointed out earlier. Going into another like kind of dramatic shot. I think this is a sporty vibe. Another digicam shot, really mixing together all the different media styles that I used. And the next segment we're going into is the soccer side of it. Let's go. So we have all the details of the shirt. We have it on. We've seen the logo. We've seen the Venezia. We've seen the sleeve. This sleeve. I keep pointing at the wrong sleeve, but we've seen the sleeve. She's wearing it. It's a little bit of drama, a little bit of character to it. Now we're going to play some soccer. So we get the cleat shot. Nice shot of her tying her cleats. Put like a rope tightening sound effect here, which I thought worked out really well. And finally, got the soccer ball staying there. Can't really see her. It's not about her anymore as much as it is about soccer player wearing this jersey. Nice flare. The ball lapse, I barely used any of it. Just 15 frames, edited super fast. And then we end on that hyperlapse. So we've established she has ball, she has cleats, even though you can't see them here. She's got the jersey on. Everything's good to go, except she's not buttoned up anymore. That's on me, honestly, as a director. Finally here, I did end up freezing on that last frame a little bit longer. I wasn't really sure if that was going to be a good enough end to this particular video. I was considering adding some text. I was considering doing a few other things. I think if it was a real kind of kit drop, you probably would put in some text effects, but this was kind of just for fun and to kind of stretch my creative muscles a little bit. There we go. I kind of created this thing. Basic story elements are like kind of mysterious intro, get some intrigue in the first 3 seconds. Hero shot, pretty quick, tease what we're showing, detail, grabbing the shirt, action, got the shirt on, character, detail, more details, so many details. That's all we're trying to show, like all the intricacies of this jersey. I'm doing an ad now. I'm not even sponsored or anything. I'd love to be by Venezia. I mean, that's my team. Details. Now we're going into overarching jersey elements. Detail of the jersey element. Jerseys on. Character, sport. We know the details of the jersey. We've got the character. Now we get the sport. Soccer, all put together. And that's kind of the idea behind it, storytelling wise. Hopefully, if you wanted to create something like this, you now have a better idea of how to achieve that. If you wanted to see me doing some of these things practically, like a video of me taking all the images and putting them together from start to finish, I can make a video just like that. Just let me know. This video is more about the editing side of it and how to put these images together, but I think it also tells you what pictures that you should take in order to achieve this effect. So I hope it was useful. I hope you liked this video. I hope you thought it was cool. But if you have questions or want me to make a follow-up video with more details, please let me know in the comments. If you did like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'll make more things like this. I make photography content of all kinds and I post my own photography all the time. Without further ado, this video is probably so long. I've been talking forever. My voice is so tired. It is time to just say subscribe and thanks for watching. I've been Tony.